Coming up tonight on Connecting Point, we're on the road to the North Quabbin region.
I love this area. It offers so much for outdoors. There's hiking and there's trail biking and paddling, and all that is here, but nobody knows it.
We're on the road in northern Connecticut, and we'll hear about a possible new casino there.
The reason, the rationale, the compelling arguments for East Hartford are overwhelming, and everything else is really a distant second.
That's all next on Connecting Point.
Good evening and welcome to Connecting Point. I'm Jim Madigan. Though its future may be uncertain due to likely cuts in state funding for youth at risk grants, the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Holyoke is already looking for new grants to support their work keeping young people away from street gangs.
I tell everybody who I interact with the truth. I didn't speak this way about 4 years ago. I was a completely different human being, and I tell them the truth. I was like, no matter how many people are trying to bring you down, no matter how many times you've been arrested, at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to decide what you're going to do with yourself. Mm-hmm. And it's up to you to make that change. I did it. If I'm capable of doing it, you are too.
There are issues of poverty. There are issues of lack of resources.
Well, doesn't it give kids a choice to have a better shot? I mean, in a community.
Why one child? Why one child? We, as a community, have a responsibility to make a space for every child.
We have no idea what we're doing with marijuana, and I anticipate we're going to reflect back on what happened in 2016 and think 30 years from now, what were we thinking? Because we will have created 2 or 3 generations of people who are struggling with levels of addiction.
Phoenix only serves kids who have either dropped out of high school or are on the verge of dropping out. And I spoke at their commencement a couple years ago, and every single kid who graduated, and was going on, by the way, to a 2-year and a 4-year school, all of them, every single one of those kids have been told they'd never graduate from high school, from their traditional schools. So the notion somehow that charter schools get all the best kids is baloney.
And I think that you're witnessing the change that has driven the two parties to a more pure positions. The difficulty is trying to get back to election time after you've gone through a very raw primary process.
In your experience, and let's be careful to say we're saying nationwide in your observance, are relations between police and communities of color about as bad as they have been in maybe 40 or 50 years?
Oh, they're terrible. I think they're as bad today as they were in the 60s during the Civil Rights movement. There is absolutely little trust between communities of color and police departments across the nation.
Right now we're getting actually $14 per 100 pounds for some of the milk that we ship out to Agrimark. And in 1980, we were getting $14 a hundredweight. So 35 years down the road, and you're making what you were making, it's not good economics.
Affording opportunities. I myself, being a formerly homeless man, I lived on 27 Cabot Street, got out of being homeless and staying off of 391 in a tent, to then being a productive citizen, giving back.
While the name may imply that there might be some kind of luck, chance, or happenstance involved when it comes to the Sheffield, Massachusetts-based company called the Magic Flute, nothing could be further from the truth.
And we build right here in our shop, which employs the local community, and we also rely on a lot of local vendors to supply the parts.
Our instruments have a story. We can tell you where they were made. I can tell you that the necks are being made 15 minutes away in Norfolk, Connecticut. The molded back shell for the violin is being made at Mold Masters in Pittsfield. Our tailpiece of our Firefly banjo is made in Connecticut, and it's plated in Massachusetts.
We've even been known to cut our own trees and have them milled up locally as well.
If you wanted to call a great horned owl, it would sound about like this. Hoo, 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 hoo. Hoo, 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 hoo. Lower, Monty, lower.
Who let the dogs out?
Riverside Park was a destination.
We'll give you that feeling, that good, happy feeling.
Ed Carroll would go out to California every year and see what was the latest and greatest. And he really used Disneyland as a model for Riverside Park. When the monorail was built at Riverside Park, it was the only monorail outside of Disneyland.
I had come up to the Berkshires to work at the Berkshire Theater Festival one summer, and I worked at Williamstown several years in a row. And I had never been to Massachusetts before, and I very much fell in love with this area. The Berkshires, first of all, is an extraordinarily beautiful place. It's ripe with possibility. It's very open. You can find something that inspires you or something that you want to offer the community, and there's then the possibility of really bringing it into being.
Chesterfield Gorge is one of over 110 properties the trustees of reservations own. The trustees is a land trust statewide that has been active since 1891. One of the first things that the trustees did was to create a study of the most threatened landscapes in Massachusetts, and Chesterfield Gorge was on that. They acquired it in 1929, so it's one of the early properties and one of our continuing success stories.
As we're meeting right now, Mary Poppins is performing on this stage with 130 members of our community, and the production is extraordinary.
You know, many things fly, set pieces, people, very intense tap dancing, so it's at a very high level, which is fun to be able to put together and work on.
When we have students from all over Berkshire County come and be together on this stage, it's a real sense of community. And I think that that is so important for kids to have that sense of community and to have a place that they call home.
We're the home of some of the greatest cultural and arts institutions in the world, and making sure that that continues, that leadership continues, and that it spreads out to the rest of the economy is so important. So example, support for things like festivals. Just a few weeks ago, I know WGBY was a part of it. You had the Asparagus Festival up in Hadley. You know, think about what that does for our local craft brewers, our local restaurants, our local farms. Getting more of that in the Springfield area is important too.
Senator Eric Lesser, thanks for being with us.
Thank you. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it.
That's Connecting Point for this week and this season. Remember, you can always check us out at wgby.org/connecting point. Thanks for watching tonight and all year. Hope you have a great weekend. I'm Jim Madigan, and we hope you're back with us when Connecting Point returns in October with more of the people, places, and issues that matter most to Western New England.